What's going on? You are watching the OBR streaming network. This is a brand new edition of The React. My name is Brad Ward. The man next to me is the always fantastic Pete Smith. Good to see you all filing in the chat tonight. Make sure you hit like and subscribe as you enter or exit. If you are listening and you want to watch, or you are on X, hop on over to youtube.com/Orange and Brown Report, where you can view the show on YouTube or at Twitch, the OBR. Pete, what's going on, man?
Not too much. Just sort of in a holding pattern before we head to the combine and get that whole thing rolling.
Yes. Yep. There's lots of. It's silly season. There's lots of craziness going on out there, which we'll address some of tonight. A couple things going on around the NFL today. Of course, the franchise tag window open. Only a couple guys around the league, I think, are candidates for that. It does not look like, or at least reports are saying, Pete, that Sam Darnold will not be franchise tagged, and even beyond that, we'll see free agency.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to roll with JJ McCarthy, so be it. And Sam Darnold's going to make a ton of money. He's going to get paid. I'm guessing somewhere in the neighborhood of $40 million a year.
You think it'll be that much? You think his market will get that high?
Yep. And people will, get past whatever meltdown he had at the end of the season and look around and go, we need a quarterback. And that's, You're seeing the same thing play out in the draft. You're seeing people, talking heads locally, nationally, whatever, talk themselves into ridiculous ideas. Let's trade for Trevor Lawrence. That type of stuff, because that's what happens when you don't have a quarterback.
Yeah, there's a lot of that going on. We're going to go through some of the veteran quarterbacks tonight, and there's some rumors out there about Stafford and some other stuff too. But Andy Dalton signed a 2-year deal to be Bryce Young's backup in Carolina, so he's off the table. If anybody had their sights on Dalton for backup here in Cleveland, or he's pretty good veteran though. I mean, he does a nice job filling in for them from time to time.
Yeah, he's exactly what you want for a backup for Bryce Young. I mean, he's the type of guy you don't want to have to play for, more than 2 or 3 games in a stretch, but he does fine. He processes quickly, gets the ball out of his hands really fast, which is all they need.
As we turn at the beginning of the show tonight, we're going to turn our attention to some of this list of veteran quarterbacks that's available out there, including Aaron Rodgers. Now, Matthew Stafford is in negotiations with his contract out there. They have to get it down below a certain amount, basically, and whether they'll be able to do that and pay the people they want to pay on the roster seems to be kind of up in the air, and so on and so forth. Sam Darnold, as we just mentioned, is going to be part of this market. Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, Daniel Jones, with I guess being connected to the Steelers today, which like I said, silly season, take this stuff for what it's worth. Kirk Cousins are the main names out there, right? We're going to watch this first video. This is Schefter on the situation with Stafford, and kind of what he's thinking there. At first, I just kind of scoffed at this idea, Pete, that Stafford would ever get moved there. I don't know if he will. But the more I read about it, the more it does seem like a kind of a convoluted mess. Any thoughts on that?
I think it's a market of one. He's either going to play with the Rams or he's not going to play.
Oh, you don't think he'll play at all?
Yeah, I think he'll retire if he doesn't play for the Rams.
Really?
He it a lot of it is his wife. His wife is very comfortable in LA. She can say what she wants, but
Yeah.
he's been a huge driving force in all of his decision making, and she's the one who basically suggested that he wanted out.
Yeah.
Isn't a good place to start, but Jack sort of covered this. It rhymes a lot with what Aaron Donald's process sort of looked like, which was get more money or not or retire. The Rams, for their part, they just won the division. I guess there's a world where they could theoretically trade Stafford and sign Darnold, but I think more likely they're just going to stay with Stafford because that's who they are, that's who they know, and they just came off a division-winning season, so I think they'll figure it out as opposed to trying to move him somewhere. I think if he gets moved, you worry that you are getting diminished skills to this point. Like I think Stafford is certainly very talented. He's one of the best throwers you're ever going to see, but you do start to worry just the amount of punishment he's taken over his entire career is going to add up. And I don't think Cleveland's anywhere in that thought process. And it wouldn't surprise me if he's, if he limits sort of the options to, basically teams of his choosing beyond that. Like even if he were to leave the Rams, I think it'd be a very short list of teams, and they're probably all in sunny places.
You're probably right. A guy can dream, though. I mean, you said, his kind of what his level of play would be. What would you? I forget how you phrased it. Fading, I guess.
Yeah, I think he's got. He's tremendous, and I think on the right team he can. I don't want to say he's Peyton Manning when they won the Super Bowl in Denver, where Peyton Manning was essentially a carcass by the end. But you are getting to that point where, let's say the Jets trade for him. He's not saving that team. Like, he can function on a good team. He can make a good team work. But I think part of this is Matthew Stafford is very talented. Part of this, Sean McVay is really good at what he does. And, you were in the same way that I would be worried about taking Sam Darnold out of what has been a very nice setup in Minnesota. I think you worry about losing something with Stafford when he doesn't have Sean McVay in that offense sort of allowing him to be as successful as he otherwise would be.
Sure. I would just say like beggars can't be choosers. I still think he's the best option out of a lot of these guys.
What would you give for that?
What would I give for it?
A
second.
Yeah, I'm keeping the pick.
You're keeping a second to get Stafford. Like, don't you think Stafford is better option than Rodgers, Wilson, Fields, Jones, Cousins?
Maybe for how long? A year?
Yeah.
I'm not giving up a second round pick for a year.
Okay.
33rd pick overall? No.
Well, yeah, you're probably right. Not the 33rd pick, but maybe what about a second in 26?
I still wouldn't, but that's me. I could at least that's an argument you can make. I think that's a conversation at that point, but I still wouldn't.
Yeah, I wouldn't give up 33, but I think I would have to think about it because I think he's a better option than anybody else out on the market, and it buys you time and it gives you the ability. I think one of those scenarios that you kind of that you laid out where he would be successful, I would think would be in Stefanski's offense.
Yeah, I think he could be. I don't worry that he's going to like turn into a pumpkin, but
yeah,
I do worry that suddenly he's not going to be the guy you need him to be. And we're sitting here going, man, you got Donovan McNabb in Washington, or you got Jeff Garcia in Cleveland type thing.
Yeah, I mean, I got concerns like that about every one of these guys, though. You know what I mean? And if we're looking at the sample size of last year, he was by far better than most of these guys.
No, so, unquestionably.
Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and What is somebody banging on the door in my house? Let's go ahead and start this video.
The most about all the QBs that are available.
Well, what's interesting is people have said to me, what is the biggest storyline this offseason? And sometimes it's hard to see what's coming, and sometimes we don't know what that will be. But going in to the offseason, I think you have to say unquestionably the biggest storyline is the fact that there are 3 veteran quarterbacks out there with at least 350 career passing touchdowns in the NFL who now have unsettled futures. That's Matthew Stafford, that's Aaron Rodgers, that's Russell Wilson. Matthew Stafford and the Rams, as we tape this Tuesday morning, February 18th, they've been trying to see if they can work out a new contract. And if they can, Matthew Stafford will remain in Los Angeles and he'll remain a Ram, but he's due $35 million this year. None of it is guaranteed. And it's up to those two sides to figure out a number that the Rams can live with, that Matthew Stafford is more comfortable with, that would enable him to continue and finish his NFL career with the Rams. That's the goal, I believe, of both sides. Now, that could change very quickly. If the Rams couldn't get a deal done with Stafford, if they decided to trade him, a lot of ifs involved, then Aaron Rodgers, in my mind, would be thrilled with the idea of going to Los Angeles. And the Rams could probably get him at a lower cost than it would be for Matthew Stafford. They get draft pick compensation back for Stafford. So you could see where the Rams would say, is that a more desired alternative? Again, number one alternative, re-sign Matthew Stafford. That to me is obvious. But if you can't, now we start to get the quarterback dominoes falling, the quarterback carousel turning, and Aaron Rodgers to me would come into play in LA.
Interesting. Probably none of it comes to fruition, but still interesting nonetheless. As we look at this, though, in you know, if we're serious, you know, there's a lot of smoke around Shedeur right now, and we're going to get to that on this episode, and a lot of it's probably nonsense. All of it is nonsense, Pete says. But you know, Rodgers, Stafford, Darnold, Wilson, Fields, Jones, Cousins. There's a number of reclamation projects. Lance, Wilson. I mean, these are this is the choices that the Browns have to select from if you're not drafting a quarterback. Do you have a favorite of that group?
Yeah, my thing all along has been, assuming Kirk Cousins gets cut, is to sign Daniel Jones and Kirk Cousins. That's, to me, the best situation for the Browns. You get, obviously, Kirk Cousins cheap, but if you believe that he can come back from the Achilles, now a full, what would be another season removed from it, and you believe that down the stretch with the Falcons, he was playing hurt, which I don't think is difficult to believe, that he can bounce back and give you something close to what 2023 Kirk Cousins gave you, you'd sign up for that without hesitation. But I would also want to sign Daniel Jones to have insurance against that possibility that Kirk Cousins isn't Kirk Cousins. And I want to have, I want to get a quarterback with some, obviously he's a completely different quarterback than Kirk Cousins, mobility as opposed to a pure pocket guy, can do some other things, but would be sort of the most experienced of those guys who have yet to sort of really prove it. In the NFL, he has played 70 games or whatever, has a playoff win, all those things that if he's just, you don't need, like, don't get me wrong. It would be great if the Browns were to sign Sam Darnold or anyone, Daniel Jones and anyone, and they turned in a Sam Darnold season, like the year Sam Darnold had 4,000 yards and all the wins and everything else. There's not a very high chance of that happening, but it's not, it's a non-zero chance. But you don't need to either. You just need to be able to function. 2023 with no running game and just functioning the Browns won 11 games and easily would have won 12 if they wanted to. I don't think I think it will be significantly more difficult given the schedule they're going to play to sort of replicate that. But if they do just the simple things like be able to run the football, have the kicker be able to function, and have a quarterback that can play just average football, they're going to be significantly better. So I understand the sort of inclination that you want to shoot for the moon. And Matthew Stafford, I think would qualify as that. You're saying, not only do I want to get a quarterback who can make this thing work, I want to get a quarterback who's going to put us in the playoffs right now, who's going to change Myles Garrett's mind and make him suddenly go, oh man, I want to be part of this, even though I think that's inevitable anyway. But I think I don't think the Browns want to get into a marriage with any of these guys. And I think they want to ultimately find their own quarterback. So I think that's the best way to get there, is to not overcommit to anything, give yourself a couple options, and then let the board play as it does. Because let's say they love Cam Ward and Cam Ward comes in with muscly 10-inch hands at the combine, as opposed to what I'm worried about, which they're going to be itty bitty things, and I'm going to be done with him. And the Titans pick Abdul Carter.
Yeah.
Like, to me, would be an unexpected scenario. I think right now Cam Ward is the pick for the Titans. But if he's not, the Browns have to prepare for it as if he's gone. Yeah. But if they love him and he's there, okay, you pick him. And then at least you had all these things in place where you can do these things. But my theory of the case at this point is if Cam Ward is not on the board for the Browns to take, I don't think they're going to take Shedeur Sanders. Right. And I don't think they're going to be in a position to get Jackson Dart. So they will probably take a swing somewhere in the draft, but it's not going to be as high as probably people want. And it's not going to be something that's going to produce immediate results. That's short of a Russell Wilson prodigy type scenario. That's, to me, the most likely outcome at this point.
And Philly mentioned this in the chat as well, and I was thinking the same thing. Do you think I think it'll be difficult to get two of the, I guess what you would call upper tier bridge guys this offseason? So like Jones and Cousins, because don't you think they each would like to land a spot themselves? And isn't there enough open spots for all of them? Maybe. That's the part where I'm not convinced. Okay. And it's because of what Adam Schefter is laying out there. Like right now, I think it's adorable that he said Aaron Rodgers would love to slide into Los Angeles. I think he'd love to slide into a job, period. Anywhere. Yeah. Yeah. So you look at it and you're like, yeah, Tennessee could theoretically sign one of these guys. But if agents think they're going to draft a quarterback, they may sort of be like, maybe. If who else? I mean, the Las Vegas has to get somebody. Yeah, they can't guarantee unless they can trade up before the draft or trade up to one. They can't guarantee themselves anything, so they have to get somebody. So maybe I at this point I don't think Derek Carr is going anywhere. So like you start running down the list, and Sam Darnold's going to take up one of those spots. But the Jets are another team. They've cut bait with Aaron Rodgers. So where are they going? That's another opportunity. But like the Giants, but with the number of quarterbacks we're talking about, like Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, I assume Matthew Stafford's going to stay in LA. But like, I think so long. Well, one, I think the money is going to have a lot to do with it. And then the opportunity is also going to have a big say in this. Kirk Cousins is the one where he's like, it's all about opportunity. Yeah. Because if he's cut, his money is irrelevant. He's going to get the minimum because he's being paid by the Falcons. It's entirely about opportunity. And familiarity is going to be great for him if he,
let's assume he had a fondness for Kevin Stefanski's reign of terror with him in Minnesota, where Kirk Cousins won his one and only playoff game. But Daniel Jones, what I find interesting about the whole Daniel Jones thing is the team that's like, obviously we saw the rumor with Pittsburgh, but the team that's sort of like come out and said they sort of want him is Minnesota.
Exactly.
Who has a starter. So
right.
If that's an indication of sort of what his market is, I think he's going to be more pliable than maybe other teams do. And I think the Browns can sell a real competition and real money, because I think they can set, at least my in my mind, how it would work is, one, if you get Kirk Cousins, he can't make any extra money. You can give Daniel Jones a pretty sizable base pay relative to being a backup, and then include incentives where if he wins the starting job, suddenly he's getting paid like a starter. And that might be enough to get him over the top. But I do think that what you're presenting is entirely reasonable.
Yeah.
Can the Browns really convince two guys who think they are starters to come here and be willing to sign on? That's sort of the dance. But I don't think it's inconceivable, simply because of the opportunities could be out there. Like if Pittsburgh, let's say Pittsburgh re-signs Justin Fields and that's their guy. Like suddenly this whole thing gets a little bit crazy. But I just don't know that there's that many jobs out there. But like, let's say that Daniel Jones resign, goes somewhere else. Like, I can easily sub in Jacoby Brissett and Kirk Cousins, and I'm fine. Like, I have no problem with that. I have no problem with going with Kirk Cousins and Jameis Winston. I don't have issues with Jameis Winston coming back at all. I understand why people, one, he's insane, but two, you can like say what you will, he's fun, and they score points.
He's fun. I kind of believe, call me crazy, that he rubs Stefanski the wrong way. I'm starting to believe that a little bit. Like, it just, I can see it because it starts to rub me the wrong way. Like, at what point is it overkill, Pete? Like, he's talking to Bert Kreischer. Did you hear the conversation between him and Bert Kreischer in the stands at the Super Bowl about returning a punt? He sounded insane.
No, but Jameis is a lot, period.
Yes.
I think for the right and the wrong reasons. Like, there's no question that was a weird dynamic for the Browns this year, but it also paid dividends. Like, he was really good for Jerry Jeudy.
He was
not just throwing him the ball, but like behind the scenes building him up. Now, there were times where that sort of also became sort of a little bit problematic, but like, again, if you can get Kirk Cousins and all these other options are gone, and Jameis is like, I'd be happy to stay here, I'd do it. Like, I would be fine with that. And if you can get a good rookie, great. But like, my concern is win football games in a way that's not going to sort of what I want to do is win football games. What I don't want to do is put myself in a position where winning football games means being stupid. Like, because the ultimate argument for me to just go win football games right now would be just like trade for Matthew Stafford and draft Genty 2 overall and say, let's go win football games. Like that, like that's a terrible way to manage your resources. But
I know,
like, if that's the scenario you want to go with, and you're saying, I need to win football games, then that would be how I would do it. But like, I'm hoping they're smarter than that, a little bit more restrained with a build mentality, because the whole thing is they need to make up for resources they have not had to build in young players. And I think the age of the roster is now being overstated, because like most of the players who are super old are gone or are the kicker. They're much younger than I think people realize. Now they need to keep getting that way. And I think having 12 picks and whatever they're going to do with that will help. But I think the age of the roster is a little bit overstated. And like some of the guys who are older on the roster, like you, me, people at the OBR, we are talking about, we have to build in plans to sort of get to where we can move on from them with Joel Bitonio and Wyatt Teller and eventually Jack Conklin and some of those guys. Like, that has to be part of your build right now so that you can move on. Like, other than that, the age of the roster is like this weird myth. Like 29 is suddenly 40. And you've got a lot of young players like Isaiah McGuire and Mike Hall and Juwan Briggs. And that's just the defensive line. They've got a lot of second and third year players who will be back, who are major contributors, specifically on the defense. I think offensively is hopefully where this offseason is going to really transform that side of the ball and get younger and more productive.
Yeah. You're watching The React. That's Pete Smith. I'm Brad Ward. So the next video we're going to go to is Joel Klatt's mock, and we're only going to watch the first 2 picks because that's all it's a nice thing about having the second pick in the draft. But it's interesting here, Pete, because despite how, and we're going to watch a little film tonight because it was requested that we, and I'll leave it up to you, but at the time, but it was requested that we do what we did with Dart that one day with Sanders.
I'm good with it. Like, it's entertaining to me because I've seen the video. I know what game he's watching, and that's going to be the funny part is when we get there is reminding people who they were playing.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you, do you want to do the Benkert one, or do you just want to watch film of just me and you talk over it?
We can do the Benkert video. I don't have a problem with doing that later, but I like what Benkert Benkert's a smart guy. He's obviously done it. He's good at sort of giving you or providing a jumping off point for some of the other stuff that's important.
Yeah. But here's Joel Klatt. I will just say this. For my job, I'm in my car a lot of the day driving around. And so I try to listen to podcasts. I have to turn off 92.3 often, but this town is in Shedeur frenzy, Pete. They all want Shedeur. They all want Sanders. And the ones that don't want Sanders just want a quarterback at 2. They don't care which one.
I think that's a fair way to categorize it.
It's madness. All right, here we go.
Will play both sides in the National Football League, and I think he can. I actually don't think it's that hard. College football has never been better. Interest has never been higher. You have not seen those.
That's an absurd
really say it's
statement.
Not that hard to play both ways?
Yeah, that's an absurd statement. What are we talking about here? Are we really saying that? I mean, nobody's ever done it with any consistency.
Okay. Deion Sanders has 60 career receptions.
Yeah.
60. He was
and Joel Klatt, this show.
Yeah.
As always, brought to you by Hilton, and we thank them for their support as always. Welcome in. We have got a huge mock draft episode of the show. It's our first mock draft of the season. The 2025 NFL draft is going to be soon upon us, and I'll be there. As I do every year, I work for the NFL Network on the draft, so I'll be there with DJ and Charles Davis and Rich Eisen. I do their main desk on night 1 and night 2 every single year, and so we'll be covering the draft in the lead up to the draft right here on the Joel Klatt Show, and then you can catch me on the NFL Network when we get to Green Bay for the actual draft. So this will be the first mock draft. We're going to do a couple of these because, as is the case all the time, things will change, information will change, so on and so forth. But this one is always a good one to get out there. It's kind of the foundational mock draft that then the entire process is then derived off of what I'm holding in my left hand and what I will be giving you here during this show. Now, remember, before we get started, go follow us and subscribe on YouTube. You've got to be there because a lot of our content is ending up there as exclusives, including the Understanding Football series. Now, that is up. We've got 3 episodes up. If you have not seen those yet, go over and check them out. We're going to be doing more of those during the course of the spring and the off season, and I'll be diving into the sport that we all love. dive into the draft. Okay, here we go. On the clock, Tennessee Titans, they've got the number 1 pick in the draft. They obviously need a quarterback, but here's the problem. I don't think Shedeur Sanders is going to want to play in Tennessee, and I do not believe that any other player should be taken number 1. So for me, Shedeur is the best quarterback, and Tennessee can either not take him and go with Cam Ward at number 1, or I think they can get some capital, still fall back and potentially get Cam Ward and get more capital later in the draft. I think that that's what they're going to do. So
do you find that surprising that he's saying that? It's the first time I've heard that he would not want to go to Tennessee.
Yeah, I don't know what he's basing that on. What Tennessee has to do with anything.
Yeah.
The only thing I would say is he has no leverage. Like there's nothing.
Right.
And everything that I've heard is that there's nothing getting in the way of him going to any of these top teams. This is all basically a farce, and they want him to go as high as possible.
Yeah. Seems right.
Don't generally do this, and it's going to be the only trade of the first round. I'm trading the first pick. I think Tennessee trades the first pick for a combination of reasons, and I believe that the Giants jump up to number 1 from 3 to 1, and the New York Football Giants are in the number 1 spot because they do have a great relationship with Shedeur Sanders. They have vetted him out several times. I believe that it is reciprocal there, and I think that the Giants move up to number 1 and take Shedeur Sanders with the number 1 pick in the NFL draft. Here's a little something about Shedeur. I think that if you really evaluate him as a quarterback and you take the name off the back of the jersey, if you don't look at who his head coach is, I think he's a clear number 1 quarterback. And here's the reason, is because Shedeur has this beautiful combination of the ability to be a prototypical passer from the pocket, and he's got the precise ability to be a surgeon in those cases, and he also has the ability to be an artist. And that combination doesn't come around a lot. Okay, his ability to create outside of the pocket, extend the play, is Fran Tarkington-esque. He's excellent in those situations. And if you give him some time in the pocket, which Colorado did not generally with their offensive line, but if he has time and he can diagnose what's going on, he is surgical from the pocket. I believe that he has a chance to be much better in the National Football League than he was even at Colorado, because let's face it, as Dion was trying to build the roster from a roster that won 1 game and make them immediately competitive, they got the skill position players right away, including Shedeur, but what they didn't have is a great offensive line. And as the offensive line got better, Shedeur's productivity went way up, obviously. And they had a really solid season this last year, but they were never great up front. If he can ever get in a position where he's playing on a like footing or similar footing with the opposition and an offensive line that can actually do something in front of them, then watch out. So I believe that he's actually just scratching the surface. I like him at number 1, and I like the Giants going up there and trading for him with the number 1 pick. Okay, let's go to number 2, Cleveland. Now, Cleveland could also go quarterback here, but let's face it, they're going to need to replace Myles Garrett, who has now recently requested that trade. And so there's a player that I think is the actual best player. If I were just making a big board, I believe Abdul Carter would be number 1. And so I'm going to go Abdul Carter with the Cleveland Browns. He is a really great disruptive player on the edge, and he's only played on the edge, for a brief moment in terms of the totality of his career. He was an off-the-ball linebacker to begin with at Penn State, just moved down to the line of scrimmage basically full-time this last season for Tom Allen, their defensive coordinator, and all he did was go out there and, lead the country in tackles for loss. I believe that as he gets more comfortable at the line of scrimmage, he can have an impact that is similar to Micah Parsons. They were in the same number at the same school in college. And this guy is really good. As twitchy as they come, he's athletic. He can sink back into coverage, which if you're watching YouTube, which you should, and subscribe, you're watching those highlights right now. He can do it all. And so with Cleveland needing to replace Myles Garrett, needing to get better on the defensive side, yeah, they need to add offensive talent, and I think that they probably will. But the Browns, they were last in the NFL in scoring, and their defense probably, I wouldn't say is the absolute priority, but they've got the chance to get the best player in the draft right there at number 2, and I'm going to take it. Now it's Tennessee at 3, okay? After they flip those picks, Giants go up to number 1. Now Tennessee at 3. Again, this is going to be my last trade. But now Tennessee, and this is why they were able to do it, they get Cam Ward. So
that's insane. Wait, so they trade down to 3 and still get Cam Ward? I guess. I mean, why don't
look? There are people
they
who
can
don't
do
like
it?
Cam Ward.
That's a coup, right? I mean,
yeah. I mean, if you're the Titans, it's a huge victory for you.
yeah.
You know, I don't have an issue with Joel Klatt. I don't see what he sees with Shedeur Sanders. I mean,
Yeah.
I see the ability to create similar to a clip I saw of Peyton Manning at Tennessee running around. Like there's just not much there. He's not entirely a statue, but I just think he's super limited. I also think he makes his offensive line worse. And that's a huge problem for me. Given what you need from that position, and especially in the NFL where offensive line play is completely overwhelmed right now by pass rushers. Now, having said that, I agree entirely with his Abdul Carter analysis, but I would really rather enjoy to have Abdul Carter and Myles Garrett and Isaiah McGuire on the defensive front. And that's ultimately where I hope this thing ends up, in a world where Cam Ward probably goes number 1. But yeah, I mean, look, we'll get into the Shedeur tape, but like, I just reject the notion that, yeah, don't get me wrong. I'm not going to tell you that he had an all-world offensive line at Colorado, but there are just so many examples where he's the problem.
Yeah.
Or he's
there's
making,
no question.
He's making situations worse. It also doesn't help that, you know, in a game against Nebraska where they lost and Shedeur threw a pick 6 on just a simple squat coverage play, that after the game, he threw his offensive line under the bus. He said,
that was the bad
straight up that the difference in the game was, you know, the court, you know, which quarterback got hit more. Except if you watch the game, don't get me like, there are times where Shedeur is just he's going to get killed, but he also makes it worse. And he got outclassed by a true freshman in Dominic Raiola. Like, it was a terrifying game. And obviously at the time, everybody thought Nebraska was good. And then lo and behold, Nebraska sucks. So these are things that sort of make you go, I don't know. And there's a lot of that, including the game we're going to see tape from.
Amber says Joe watched every Shedeur game and explained his reasons.
Well, Joe Klatt is a big. He covers the Big 12, I believe, almost exclusively. Yeah. So yes, he would have watched all of it. I think he not only that. I think he has a relationship with Deion Sanders as well. Like he's heavily involved in Big 12 football.
And then Amber also saying he literally turned around a school that won 1 game. He certainly didn't do that by himself. I would say that the influx of talent had a lot to do with that. It just wasn't all on Shedeur. Certainly, not arguing that he wasn't a good college football player.
So sight on the scene is the best quarterback in the country for the future. The kid at Arizona State. Arizona State hadn't won shit in years, and so they didn't just win games. They won the Big 12.
Yep.
So like they're don't get me wrong, Shedeur and especially Travis Hunter deserve a lot of credit for what they were able to do. But okay, like I will also have to be honest with what I'm watching. Like, yeah, they beat Big 12 teams. The Big 12 was not good. They were better than they had been, but I had to watch them against the Pac-12 the previous year where they just sucked. and suddenly had to run away to an inferior conference to sort of look a little bit better. The schedule that Colorado played and some of these other teams was nowhere near what like Big Ten and SEC teams are playing against. Like Colorado got smoked by Kansas, got smoked by BYU. It wasn't like close. These were embarrassing games.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone's going to tell you how great Kansas was, but nevertheless, these are you got to go with what you got to go with what you see. Simultaneously, I will tell you, Cam Ward did not play a tough schedule either, and that's part of the problem that makes this really difficult.
Yeah.
Where, if you're going to look at sort of the top quarterbacks, you go to Jackson Dart, who played the SEC, obviously, and beat Georgia and some of those teams, or you go to Will Howard, who played the most difficult schedule of anyone. And I'm not a big Will Howard fan, but it's undeniable who they played throughout the schedule. Colorado they played some bad teams, and Shedeur played well in some of those games. He played poor, not so great in others.
Yeah, and I would say like this. My thoughts on Shedeur are this: like, I'm not saying that he's not a good prospect. Like, I think he could be a good quarterback in the NFL from what I watch him, but I just don't see the ceiling that justifies taking him with the second overall pick in the draft. Like, can he be a middle of the road pro quarterback? Sure. But I am just saying, in my opinion, Amber, and he was an excellent college player at times, and he does some really good things on film, but I just don't see the upside that justifies the second pick in the draft. Like, you would have to have the guys that were in the draft last year to justify that.
Yeah, I don't think that's off at all. I think the combine is going to further expose some of those concerns for people. When he weighs in, I think there's going to be people who recoil. I think he's going to be about 200 pounds. Now, maybe with water weight, he will cheat up a little bit, but I think people are going to be surprised at how small he is.
The other one I was going to mention here. So Liberty was mentioning before that Sanders putting it out there that he wants Cleveland, which is wild because him saying this publicly is a black eye to other teams who might want him, right? Question mark. Well, no. I would just say this. The video is literally him just saying that he likes to play Madden with the Browns. So if we want to interpret that as him wanting to come to Cleveland, I guess you can do that, but that's a stretch for me, Pete.
Not only that, he's not stupid. If he thinks Cam Ward is going number one, who is the highest pick who can possibly take him? Cleveland. So he's going to say, hey, I would really like to go play in Cleveland. Like, and people buy this crap every time players do it. It's fan service. Like, he's trying to sell you, and it's working. Now, does that mean he genuinely would love to play in Cleveland? Probably. Would he love to play in Cleveland if that meant going 33rd overall? Probably not as much. So, I mean, like, understand what's there for him if it means playing in Cleveland. Is Cleveland as enticing for him if they trade down? Probably not. He wants to go as high as possible, and I don't blame him. There's $40 million waiting for him if he goes number 2 overall. So, like that, there's something to be said for that. So he could absolutely love Kevin Stefanski. He could love all of it. Maybe we'll find something out when they meet in March, but right now he's selling himself. He's also selling singles. These are all things that, like, Sanders has grown up in this.
Yeah.
His father obviously knows how to sell himself, market himself. Shedeur's no fool in that regard. The music part might be, I don't know, but he's trying to market himself to potentially to a team that could want him, to sponsors that could want him, to everything. He's putting himself out there, and he's good at it. He understands how that part works, and I suspect he's going to be good at doing that. I can't say much for his acting in the KFC commercials he did a while back, but nevertheless, he understands how to play the game.
Yeah, he does. I mean, yeah, absolutely. I All right, so let's go to that while we're at it, right? Let's just hop right in, and I'll show that video earlier later. Hit like and subscribe. You're watching the React on the OBR streaming network. If you're listening on podcast and you want to watch, hop on over to youtube.com/Orange and Brown Report. Same thing if you're over on X. We appreciate your subscription and your like. It's free and it helps us out a ton. So we're going to go to the Sanders analysis 2025. And we're going to take a look. I think I'm going to do it this way, Pete. Whoa. We're small, but it'll be easier to watch, right?
That's fine.
Back with another film breakdown. This time we're going to talk about Shedeur Sanders. Now look, I did a breakdown way before the season started, breaking down some of his film from last year, and I was very high on him. He had a really good season this year at Colorado, threw for 4,000 yards, 37 touchdowns, and only 10 interceptions. Had a pretty solid year. Now look, he was my consensus #1 overall quarterback last year before Cam Ward burst onto the scene. Now we have some other late risers and all this and that. So we're still gathering information. We're going to go break down one of his games from this past year and see what's what. Let's get into the film. Let's get this thing started, man. Gonna get him rolling out on a boot, a little Ralph slide, great ball location, nice and easy. Bam, we're rolling. Nice and easy. Must have scored a touchdown. We're only gonna watch the passes, by the way. We're only looking at him. Good ball location. This is one thing I want to see. Like, where's the ball ending up on these easy pat and go routes on air type of plays? Because that'll translate. Good ball location. He should have got north and south. 1, 2, 3. Plant throw, balls out. I'm telling you, hey, that's what I'm talking about now. 3rd and 3. This is critical. This is an NFL rep right here. This is an NFL rep. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, plant throw, balls out. Great base. He kind of throws like a puncher, which is nice to see. He doesn't need to overstride into things. Let's watch it from the back view. Watch his feet. And ball location. That's money. I mean, that's tight coverage. That's an NFL rep. He's pretty polished, man.
Yes.
Easy. I actually really like that he pitched
That's
that.
going to be a theme.
I know it's a forward pass. So much better to pitch that than to throw it and be willing to miss. Smart. All right. Now we got trips, play action. Gonna get out of there a little bit. Scramble. Willing and able as a runner. Like, he's not a blazer or anything, but he's athletic. He can move with his feet. That's all you need to do in the NFL. Can you move the chains with your feet on 3rd downs? This one's 2nd down, so he doesn't really need it, but he obviously does not have his dad's speed, but he can move. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, gonna have a problem.
All right, so this is an issue right here, right?
Run it back.
Here, he's going to play it again.
Don't know if he got it back to the
Let
line
me
of
mute
scrimmage.
this for a second. But as this
Part of the problem is he's got a check down.
right in front of him, and there's one to the right, but he missed the one to the right. He's not looking over there, but there's a guy right there. So if he doesn't circle out, this should just be a dump down to this guy running the drag, right?
Go back to what this play looks like from the snap. Okay. All right. So here's part of the problem. So right off the rip, you can see how there's what is going to be a 4-man rush with three guys up on the line, and then there's the 4th guy coming, which is that linebacker who's going to blitz from basically the Big 12 logo. There's no back in there. So the right guard here is already committed to the center. So at that point, that rusher is Shedeur's guy. He's got to account for that guy. He has to have an answer for that. So his answer can't just be try to spin out. He's got to have the ability to diagnose where this ball's supposed to go. Now, this play has built-in checkdowns. You can see he's going to have what underneath drag from the right, and he's going to have a back coming out of the backfield. The question is what is his process in terms of getting from where the play's supposed to go to what happens when he realizes that he's got to account for that extra blitzer?
Yeah, exactly. We'll let it play, but Yeah, he's got if you look, so he mentions this, Benkert does, but the linebacker on this side of the field, the one that's not blitzing, is going to go try to cover that running back going to the flat at the 30-yard line, like filling behind the blitzing linebacker, right? So if he was looking that way, that would be an answer because it takes him a while to get over there. He's not looking that way.
Right. So depending on what he's supposed to identify here, it looks like he's obviously working to the left side of the field first.
Yeah.
If he comes back and sees that the middle of the field is effectively open, as it's going to be, then one, that drag is going to be there and he's got to take it. And then two, if it doesn't, throw it away.
Yeah. Ultimately, there's two answers here. And if you identify the blitz, you should look to fill behind it where the back is going. So they have an answer there, and then the drag is open as well. But he's going to try to spin out of it.
The drag is there. The DB picks up the running back out of what's a rail route or a running back wheel, but he's got to hit the drag.
Right there. Hold on.
Now, one of the things that Shedeur does that drives me nuts, and it's not difficult to correct. He loves to hold the ball with one hand. And we'll see how if that gets corrected in the NFL. Like I said, it's not a big deal to fix, but he's just got to do it because he's spinning around with one hand on the ball. It's very easy for something to go wrong and suddenly that thing's on the ground. So like when he's going to spin, you're going to see him with one hand on the ball.
Yep. And getting tackled. Yeah.
And he does. This isn't a great example. You can see this throughout, where he has an inclination to sort of play, just keep one hand on the ball as opposed to two. Now he's trying to stiff arm here. I give him a little bit of grace on that one, but there are a lot of situations you can see him where he's inclined to go one hand on the ball. Now, this I give him a lot of credit here, because I like the fact that he's patient. I like the fact that he is willing to sort of sit in the pocket and find a receiver. I think Shedeur does a really good job. I think he's very super polished and otherwise. He throws really polished. He has a lot of answers in how to throw, different arm angles, how to throw correctly in terms of his mechanics and all that type of stuff. I also think he is a delegator. He wants to get the ball out to his teammates. He doesn't want to have to try to make plays himself. But the part of the problem is there are times where he holds onto the ball too long, like we saw 2 plays ago. And the big theme I have with Shedeur is just negative plays. Now, this is phenomenal.
That was amazing, yeah.
Like, that's a superstar play. Kirk Benkert does a good job talking about, but this is really high-level stuff, both in terms of being able to navigate the pocket and to keep his eyes up and find the target.
Back up and finds him.
High-level football.
Yeah.
CJ Stroud-esque. Let's see the pocket. And that's the thing. Like, CJ Stroud doesn't play the game necessarily like a crazy athlete, but he's athletic and uses his ability to buy time in the pocket and deliver strikes and keep his eyes downfield. That's my comp. In my opinion, Shedeur's like a lesser CJ Stroud. Back in the pocket, sets it deep to then reclimb vertical. This is how you scramble within the pocket without having to get out and, I guess, limit the time clock on the play. And watch, keeps his eyes downfield, delivers a dot. I mean, that's an NFL caliber play. That is an NFL caliber play. Let's watch the pocket presence here. This is nuts.
So when people compliment him on his pocket presence, this is the type of stuff they're talking about. This is the type of stuff where they say, man, look how good he can be in the pocket. And I don't disagree. He flashes this ability. The problem is there are too many other situations where he does things to just get him into trouble.
Yeah, Harold, I don't know what you're talking about. I actually went out of my way to say that I did think he was a good quarterback and that at the pro level he could be a solid quarterback. I just don't think he has enough upside to take with the second overall pick.
Is this his ad?
Yes. Putting together a sleeper pick. All right.
Is more safe than some of these really exciting players. It's calculated. He doesn't really put the ball in danger too much. Play action, little like he can operate an offense. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I think what I see out of Shedeur, no shit, is a mix between CJ Stroud and Jared Goff. I think he has a similar throwing motion to Jared Goff. It's a little bit elongated, but it's smooth. Good ball location there. I think we found it, man. I think we found our comp. It's CJ Stroud meets Jared Goff, which works in today's NFL. Athletic enough to make plays out of the pocket, like creative enough, but also like on schedule and like on time with his feet and rhythm, cares about his accuracy, isn't trying to make a bunch of wow plays, takes care of the football for the most part. Like, little throwaway. I like it. Like I think we're so used to seeing these exciting prospects that do all this, that, and the other and have this crazy attribute set one way or the other. He's just kind of not like that. He's just smooth. And there's something to be said about having a quarterback that's smooth, safe, can has good pocket presence right here. Like he's a pocket scrambler is what I call it. Buying time in the pocket, navigating this, like drill work while keeping your eyes downfield, giving your guys more time to navigate, where some guys are like just scramblers. They get out of the pocket to get.
You can tell he's been
100% right.
Yeah, you can tell he's been coached at a high level. Like he's been drilled into him not to immediately bail. Like he purposely tries to work back into the pocket. You know what I mean?
At times, yes.
Yeah.
You know, when he's right, he's really right.
Yeah, like right there. That was pretty good.
In open space and then process on the run. He's processing from the pocket, buying time. There we go. And is willing and able to run just enough to get the yards they might need. I like that throw. I know a lot of people probably like, what do you mean? To be able to navigate a free edge rusher, he put the ball up top and came down with it on purpose to make sure he didn't get a hand on it and found no completion. Like that's, so many guys get those batted down because they just throw it with the same throwing motion every single time and it's frustrating. Okay. Smooth. Whoa. He was trying to make a play to his guy.
This is another thing that seems like this is one of those things that gets ignored. Travis Hunter is Gumby.
Yes.
There are a number of hospital balls that have been thrown at Travis Hunter this year, and he just does not sort of get killed the way some of these guys could and should. Now, this is where we're going to start running into a problem.
Yeah.
I don't think that's like a developable trait necessarily. He's such a smooth athlete. It's not real quick twitch. It's like smooth and deliberate, which is fine. That almost got out the gate. Like some people you can see just like snap the ball and like can have like crazy reaction throws. But that's not really him. Standing there and deliver while getting hit though. And
this is the best throw of this game, I think, right?
There are a handful. Definitely, that might be the best one, but there are a couple that are really, really high level.
He stands in there, gets hit, and drops this one in the bucket.
It's a dime,
Pretty
man.
impressive.
Oh my gosh. He is checking a lot of boxes, dude.
Look at this. He's gonna get drilled by this guy.
Compact, doesn't take a whole lot of space for him to get this throw off, which is what you like. You don't want him to have to, take that huge like crow hop to get into this ball. Very compact, easy delivery, great air on it that allows his guy to go make a play. Now this is bad football.
Yes.
Then here's part of the problem. Like and I know Kirk Benker talks about this. If this happens in real life, hit the guy in the back of the head.
Right. Where he's not looking.
Kirk Benker makes a good note on this. It's the receiver's fault. He takes this weird, goofy angle. So Shedeur can't throw him the ball. So you can see it like, where's he going to throw it?
Yeah.
But the problem is like, okay, it's not there. hit him in the back of the head or get out of it. The play's dead. Don't try to make this into don't try to make a play that's not there. You cannot cut this back. There's nothing there.
Yeah. I'm going to take another sack.
All right, getting backed up a little bit. 3rd and 23. Can we make a play? Pocket presence. Pocket presence. Is what it is, I guess. You don't want to take a sack there and knock yourself even deeper out of field goal range, but
now
here we are.
Go back to the top of that. They were in scoring range.
Yes.
They were at the
15.
They're at the what yard line are they at right now?
The 45.
Now, he took 3 sacks in a row against 3-9 Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State did not win a conference game this year. It's Mike Gundy's probably worst team he's had since he's been at the school. 3-9. If this happens on an NFL game and they lose by a thin margin like this because he took 3 sacks and took them all the way out of the field goal range, you know at the radios, you know your drive is going to be like that next day. You're going to hear about this endlessly. He's too smart for this. This is what drives me nuts about Shedeur Sanders. He's super polished. He does all this really good stuff. You can see the throws he makes.
Yeah.
And then you watch him do it's just stupid. And don't get me wrong, that some of these plays you're sitting there going, the offensive line doesn't give him a chance. I get it. But you cannot make bad situations worse. And Kirk Banker does a good job. And Joel Klatt said the same thing. He doesn't really put the ball in danger. I agree. And protecting the football is key. But taking negative plays, you listen to Jim Schwartz or defensive coordinators talk in terms of what they want from their defense. Jim Schwartz talks about it like a sack ends a drive, right? Or a negative play. That's why they play defense the way they want to. They want to create that negative play because if they can get that one negative play, it has a really good chance of short-circuiting the drive. He takes 3 in one series.
Yeah.
And it costs your team points.
Yeah.
That becomes a huge problem in the NFL. And this is against a terrible football team, and they get away with it because they're playing a terrible football team, and they go for it on 4th and half the field and throw a Hail Mary, but it's just a complete waste of a possession. And
can't believe they go for it here. I don't know time and score here, but going for this is wild, right? No?
What are they going to do? Punt?
I guess, yeah.
That's the problem. They don't even give themselves the chance to kick the field goal anymore. That's how much yardage they lost on this.
Yeah.
You can't do that. And for all the advanced metrics and all this, I wish there was just a stat that just counted up negative plays from the quarterback position. Because Shedeur would lap the field, he would be super high on great plays, but he would also be super high on just making plays you just can't these negative plays. And say what you will, GMs and all this can evaluate. There can be a whole lot of coaches who go, I can't deal with a guy who's going to constantly put me behind the sticks. We talked about this whole season for the Browns. A penalty, something else completely derails the drive, and now you have a quarterback who's part of the problem.
Yeah.
That really hurts you. So that's part of what you're going to get with this. And Kirk, again, another just outstanding throw.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what drives you nuts about watching him because he can do this stuff. He's really, really impressive. Now this throw is a little bit late, but still just tremendous throw. And the guy drops it, but
that's turkey hole shot right there, ladies and gentlemen, right in the turkey hole.
Another throw, he gets that stuff, but he's been doing this for 4 years.
Yep.
And used to go, what is going to happen? Now, the other part of the problem I run into with him is he's so polished in certain aspects of the game. His throwing motion, the answers he has to certain situations, all these things. He's so polished that like it works against him, and that you're sitting there going, well, how much better can he get? And maybe there's an element where you're sitting there, you're talking yourself into the idea of, well, he can get even better at the mental stuff, and maybe he can, but it worries you that like he's just going to be what he is right now in perpetuity, and that's going to really limit what he can be. That he won't be a bad quarterback, but he's going to leave you in a spot where you're not good enough.
Yeah, you worry about, and to your point, because he is polished, and he's had the best training,
Yes.
and he's had the best coaching. You wonder about how much more of a ceiling, and predicting how much he can mentally grow or how much his processing can grow at the NFL level is a difficult thing, I think.
And when he overestimates his athleticism the way he does against the BYUs, Nebraskas, and Oklahoma States of the world,
yes,
he's going to be in a world where Abdul Carter is playing against him, or Myles Garrett, or these super freak pass rushers, and it's going to make like there are plays he's going to be able to make with his legs, but it's going to be far fewer than you think he's going to be able to make based on what he did in college, because he's just going to look so much slower.
Yeah,
but his overall thoughts are really, really good in terms of like he compared him to CJ Stroud and Jared Goff, and then when you get to the wrap up with him, it's where I end up.
3 to 4 years. Truthfully, I don't know if I believe that. Where if you put Shedeur on a team, like kind of like a situation like Brock Purdy had, or even like somewhere, maybe like LA Rams, where you can go sit behind Stafford, assuming he comes back for a year. Like I could see that being a really good fit. But right now, I'm not seeing anything on tape that tells me, okay, he's worth taking a top 10 pick for, and he's going to elevate a franchise, change the program, change the ball club to new heights while having deficiencies around him that maybe he's got to cover up early on. I just personally don't see it. Not an indictment against him as a player or anything like that, because a player of his caliber can have success in the NFL, but he needs to go to the right situation with the right scheme, all of that, because he doesn't have that next level wow factor to overcompensate for a lack of talent around the board, especially on offense. So I would just be very weary about all of that throughout this whole process, but you heard it here first.
I think that's very fair.
Now, we may have missed it. He also points out the fact that the team that gets him has to have a great offensive line.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is, yeah, you always want to strive for that, but like your quarterback can't be homework in terms of, well, in order for this to work, I have to have a great offensive line. That's another problem for me, is because he does make his offensive line worse. He makes his receivers better. Undoubtedly makes his receivers better. He elevates the pass catchers, but he makes his blockers worse. And that's a really big problem in the NFL, where you need your quarterback to like make your line better. So like people want to compare him to Geno Smith, and maybe there's a world where he gets there. Maybe Geno Smith is a prospect. Sure. But right now, like the past couple of years, Geno Smith has been making a Herculean lift to make one of the worst offensive lines in football look functional by being so good at making them look better than they actually are. Shedeur does the opposite. And that's in the AFC North. That's a really big problem when you've got to go against TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith and Trey Hendrickson and all these dudes. And you're sitting there going, I've got what is probably going to be about a 200-pound quarterback, which is also worrying for me, who does not have wow talent, which I think, look, if you want to bet his brain is that special trait, all parts, to you. Is that going to get me to take him second overall? It is not. And that's where I'm at. I think he's a second round prospect.
Yeah.
That does not mean he can't be good. I think he can be a good quarterback, but I'm not taking him second overall. I have Jackson Dart as a second round prospect. I'd be willing to trade up into the end of the first round to get Jackson Dart. I don't think he's going to last that long. I just prefer Jackson Dart stylistically and what he does more than I like what Shedeur does. But there's only one first-round quarterback to me in this class, and that's Cam Ward. And that's not like Cam Ward is like a surefire automatic thing. It's just when I watch Cam Ward, I see things that make a defense very nervous. His arm is that good. Some of the throws he's able to make are that special. Some of the things he can do with his feet, sliding in the pocket and then firing shot are just incredibly good.
This is Kansas State.
Again, so smooth in terms of his footwork. He's right on schedule. He hits that back foot, ball out. This is really good stuff. But, is it going to get me to take him second overall, which is the question? No, it's not. Can he be successful in the NFL? He absolutely can. Can he be, a top 16 quarterback? Yes, I think he can. I don't know how long that's going to last, but is he going to be a top 10 quarterback? I don't see it.
What do you think he has to play in a dome?
Like
if you were to say,
I think he'd rather play in a dome.
Yeah, like if you were going to say,
just
it's bad sack. Yeah, if you're going to optimize the best situation for him to have success, what would you say? What kind of offense, who, his coach, and where?
Well, I do love the Rams for him. I don't think, obviously it's not going to happen, but I think something that's going to allow him to do what he likes to do, which is get the ball, 3-step drop, ball out as much as he can. And then when he has to go 5 or hold the ball a little bit longer, he can make some things happen. But, he can't be asked to run a true Arians offense because I think he'll die. There are just certain things that I don't think he can do. I think I think he could do the RPO stuff. I think he could do a lot of those type of things because RPOs aren't really asking you to be runners. They're just asking you to make smart decisions. I think he can do all that stuff. I think he can read a defense pretty well, but I just have a really difficult time seeing it work on a high enough level where you're sitting there turning in the card and you're going, yep, we're good.
Yeah.
Man, he's not going to win that race. I don't know who 45 is. Maybe he's a future NFLer. Maybe he's a dude, but this is Kansas State.
That's 2 straight.
Well, and again, his line is not helping.
No.
But he doesn't have to hold on to this ball. He can throw it away. There are plays that are just not going to be there, and he has a very difficult time accepting defeat. And you have to be able to move on to the next play. And maybe that can be coached out of him. I have a very difficult time because he's been doing it for so long. Great throw, by the way. That's tremendous.
Yeah. Turkey hole again. The thing about him, here's my question. Now, I'm not saying that I want him for the Browns or anything, but it does strike me that, not saying it too or ever, anything, but it does strike me that Stefanski would probably have some success with them potentially. I mean, because he's accurate out of a 3-step drop, he gets the ball out quickly. If you could set him up that way, he's good in the middle of the field and throws like this, right? So
sure. Yeah. When people ask me, I think he could fit what Stefanski does. The problem is, and I'm not, what I think people fall into this trap of is they have a very narrow view of what a Stefanski quarterback is.
Sure. Yeah.
I think it's much wider. To me, I think, yes, he could be successful with Shedeur. He threw that one away. Yes, he could be successful with Shedeur, but I think for what Stefanski wants, I think he's way more interested in a guy with Cam Ward type game-breaking ability.
Athleticism.
We can mold it. I think, and some of this is an indictment of how coaches think. They can't teach some of the physical stuff, but they believe they can figure out the mental stuff. And I think, that is where Shedeur excels right now. And again, there's a world where he could be really, really good because he's smart and understands how to play. But it's just difficult for me to praise.
accurate.
He's an overachiever, but it can be difficult for me to praise him for being smart stuff when I see him take so many negative plays.
Yes.
Not to mention not only negative plays, but just the amount of hits he takes. And he's tough. Like, the kid gets up every time. I give him all the credit in the world, but at some point, he's not going to.
Yeah, he is a tough kid, man. He does take some hit. He stands in there and takes them. That's a terrible drop. That's Will Shepherd, by the way, who I mocked to the Browns. Please don't let me do that anymore.
Well, I would just note that, I think 6 kids from Colorado ended up in the Shrine game, and I think 4 got invited to the combine.
Yeah.
Again, good anticipation. He understands where he needs to go. Understands the type of throw, the right tool for the job, so to speak. Again, good stuff here. There's a lot of things you do you like with what he can do, but
Sack.
And again, that's his line kills him there, but he takes too many.
Number 10 on Kansas State is Jacob Parrish.
I like him.
I like him a lot.
What are you doing here? Again, threw it away. More power
Underhand.
to him.
Yeah.
Where's your leverage?
Whoop. The spin out stuff. We've seen a lot of rookies go to the NFL and learn that lesson.
You spin out the wrong way against some of these guys, and they're going to take your head off. Great throw. Again, this is the problem. It's just such a roller coaster in terms of he makes outstanding plays. Like Shedeur, he's outstanding on third down. Like, his metrics on third down are great. And that would be something you're like, man, this is something to hang your hat on. But there are just too many. Now, he just misses this.
Yeah. I mean, everybody's going to have these plays on tape. You
sure.
know what I mean?
No, I mean, it's not like,
that's
again,
not what
you watch him. He's super polished. He does a lot of things right. His feet are really good. He does his arm, his answers to how he wants to throw, to being able to understand when he needs touch, when he needs to fit it in. Those things are all really good. You can tell he's played a ton of football, but it doesn't add up to me to get to a point where I'm going, I've got to take this guy second over. You cannot look that type of play is terrifying to me. When you're trying to tell me he can extend plays.
I got to take this down. I think they took us. YouTube is mad at us for watching film. Did they I wonder if we're down. Let me check.
Could be Binkert.
Stream unavailable. Yeah, it could be. They should let us back on at some point. Stream suspended for policy violations. Come on, isn't that fair use?
I don't think so.
No? Time limit on certain footage. How do I get us back? Last time this happened, they just put us back on. Let me see. I'm sorry.
But to finish what I was saying, when I see, again, maybe some of these guys are going to end up in the NFL and be great players that are going against him, but it makes his speed and those things look very concerning.
We're back.
You're asking him to extend plays, and you're saying he can do these things, and I just don't think it's realistic. There are going to be times he can get out and make plays, with his legs, but I think they're going to be wide open or be inside the 5-yard line, for example. But whether it's teams that want to use slot blitzes or a linebacker or whatever, they're going to take his head off. He's not going to be able to get away from that from guys in the NFL that are just way, way too fast. And that stuff limits what I think he can be. So again, very talented quarterback. Like to say he's a second-round quarterback doesn't mean he cannot play in the NFL. It just, I'm not using second pick to get him.
Exactly. That's what it is. He can be good. You can get him in the right system. He's got a lot of polish. He's certainly accurate in between and into the middle of the field. He does a lot of really good things, takes too many bad plays, too many disastrous plays, but that's going to happen. And the problem is I don't think he can physically get better. So he's going to have to get better above the neck. Right.
Right.
And that's where you wonder, and certainly there are ways that coaches can help him in the NFL, you know what I mean? Come along. But you have to love a guy to take him at 2. You have to love him. And I just don't love him. If I'm wrong, if you were wrong about him and he becomes a superstar, then what?
Then I got to eat it like I did with Josh Allen, who I thought was going to be terrible.
Actually, I was a big Josh Allen advocate, by the way, but I've been wrong before. I was wrong about Nick Chubb. I said Nick Chubb was a bad pick. How about that for an all-timer?
Yikes. So, look, the mental side of the game, there's certainly an upside there. And in theory, that can go, almost be uncapped in terms of how much better he can get. But when you're talking about the draft and you're talking about those traits that teams want to see, those special traits, it's going to be difficult to say. The other thing I'm curious to see, to be a fly on the wall is how the scouts versus coaches interpret this, because I think there are going to be a bunch of coaches who are like, especially defensive head coaches, could be like, I'm not interested in this because of the negative plays, because of the amount of times he goes backwards, because of the amount of field position he risks, where you're going to have to be sort of willing to, either you are very confident you can get that out of him, or you're going to have to be willing to roll with the amount of times that he's going to take bad plays, and then you're betting that he can sort of fix it, which is, I think, a risky way to operate. And listen, if he's consistently in 3rd and long, and he's not playing against Big 12 defenses, how is that going to go for him? Is he now going to be in a situation where he's now throwing a bunch of picks because teams are teeing off on him in the pass rush and coming after him, diving on the ball in the secondary? And that has caught him at times in college. Nebraska is a good example. But BYU got after him. And BYU, the thing that stands out to BYU thought they were going to lose.
Yeah.
Or I should say, thought they were going to be in a dogfight. Why do I say that? Because they ran every JV trick play ever invented in that game, and most of them worked. But I don't think BYU thought that they were just going to be to dominate the game the way they did, and that's why they ran all this stuff. Otherwise, I think they would just come out and run their stuff, because so many of those plays backfired that ended up causing them more harm than good. It was a very concerning game from that end. To me, if I watch Colorado, Travis Hunter is a superstar. Shedeur Sanders is a good quarterback. That's the difference. Good quarterback versus superstar. Superstar Travis Hunter looks like a game changer who walks in the NFL and could be great.
Yeah.
Shedeur Sanders is a good quarterback who could be good in the NFL. I don't see great in the NFL.
Right. And it has to be great if you're picking it too. Guess what? You're in luck, Amber, because the Titans and the Browns have the first 2 picks in the draft. So they actually do get to pick. You're in luck.
I guess we'll find out.
We'll find out if they like them or not. So, with that, speaking of more Shedeurs, this is kind of the Shedeur night. So this is the there, people are calling it he's flirting with the Browns, right? Sort of. As to your point, because of the, second pick. Let's get some UCSS up here and see what they have to say. You want to hear one of the this one is great here. Actually, I'm going to save that one for later. I'm going to go to this one. This is too good to be true right here. I appreciate you, Amber. I appreciate you fighting the good fight for your guy. And I appreciate you joining and watching the show. Hope you subscribe and come back. All right. Here we go. Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show.
Shedeur Sanders and Cleveland. There is reportedly a lot of mutual interest here. Shedeur Sanders admitted that his first top 30 visit in the month of March will be to the Cleveland Browns. The Cleveland Browns need a quarterback. You can tie all the pieces together and connect the dots if you want. But my question to you guys is today, we are still over 2 months from the NFL draft. Do you believe the Sanders to Cleveland love and interest is legitimate, or is it simply just a smokescreen to entice either the Giants, the Raiders, the Saints, or another team to trade up into the Browns' number 2 selection to acquire Shedeur Sanders? So Jay, we'll start with you. Are you buying the connection, or are you selling it as a
I'm anxious to hear what the other guys have to say, because I've been pretty clear on this. I think most of what teams are reported to be thinking is not true. So I don't buy any of it. Now, might they take Shedeur Sanders? Sure, they could. But I've learned so many years ago to discount almost all pre-draft reports. The only thing I ever really believe is when the number 1 team, the team that has the number 1, they're the only team that has all their options in front of them.
Yeah.
It's happened many times where that team has just decided in January, this is who I'm taking. And then they come out and they say it. We're already in negotiations with their agent. I believe that. Outside of that, everything, I look at everything with a grain of salt.
Man, the Cleveland Browns ain't good enough to be having nobody smoke screens. Like, I can understand if you was balling. I can understand if you had a great season, or you have a track record of fleecing people for draft picks, or had a great track record of developing some of these high draft picks, and then you could get creative and move around the board and try to put little misinformation out over here and have people. Listen, you got way too many holes. You got way too many spots on this roster that need to be filled for you to be running around trying to be cute. To be honest with you, you're sitting at 2. You need a quarterback. You might want to actually talk to the guy and see if he's going to be a dude that you can live with, or a dude.
That's about as bad. What does that have to do?
It's lazy.
What does that have to do with anything?
Nothing. He has presupposed his argument and going up. Here's what I'm learning from this. G. Bush doesn't think they're taking Shedeur Sanders. That's all I've learned. So what
they're not good enough to use smokescreen, Pete. They're not a good enough team to use smokescreen.
I don't understand they haven't met him yet. They haven't talked to him obviously they met with him briefly at the Shrine game. They are bringing him in for a visit to learn more about him. Now, even if the Browns had already determined they have no interest, they'd still be bringing him in for a visit for due diligence. But I don't think they've made any determination as we sit here on, I don't even know when this is from, but today is February 18th and the combine has not even happened yet. For one thing,
this is from today.
This
is from today.
The most important thing that's going to happen at the combine is the medical. So we have no idea what that says. So it's possible the Browns have already determined they're not interested in, but I'm pretty sure that they're going to actually want to talk to him and interview him and get all the background on it before they make any kind of determination one way or the other. And their interest in learning more about him is very legitimate. Sanders' interest is going as high as humanly possible, which more power to him. But like already calling this a smokescreen is just, I don't even know. It makes no sense at this point. And I don't understand, like, if the Browns even if the Browns aren't interested in Shedeur, are they saying they're interested in Shedeur? Or is the mere fact that they're having him in for a visit saying they're interested in Shedeur? Like, where is this coming from other than
air?
Mikey McNuggets saying that there's mutual interest? Like, that's
Yeah.
it. They want to meet him. Like, so I don't understand, like, the idea that they are putting this out there. If anything, every mock draft on the planet, like all the people who are listening and whatever, are basically saying they're not going to take it. So what is the smoke screen?
Yeah, they're going to meet every quarterback they can. They're going to interview all these guys. Of course they're going to. They have to do their due diligence on all these guys. I don't even understand. The worst part is saying that that argument just didn't make any sense. But either way, the teams aren't saying anything right now. Like, the teams aren't coming out and saying, "Oh, we're really hot for Cam," or "We really like," it's just kind of silly. So
the other thing is the Browns can't be sure. Like, the Browns also have to prepare for the possibility, however remote, that he's not going anywhere near as high as people are projecting. And that he could be there in a spot where the Browns could, like, he slides to 25. And the Browns go, okay, we want to go up and get him, for example. Unlikely? Yes. Has it happened in the past? Yes. Brady Quinn, a notable example. Geno Smith, Matt Barkley went projected to go in the top 10. Geno Smith went second round. Matt Barkley went in the fourth round. Stranger things have happened. They've got to prepare for the possibility that either of these quarterbacks might not be, or I should include Jackson Dart in there as well, that any of these quarterbacks are not going to go where they might project them to otherwise go and get them an opportunity. The guy that jumps out to me in this scenario is JOK. Obviously, the Browns were thinking of taking him when they took Greg Newsome, but they prepared for the possibility. They prepared and then gave themselves the ability to go up and get JOK when he went way later than they thought he would, and were able to get both players that they wanted.
Yeah, surprisingly, that was wild.
They are going to talk to him.
Yeah, so that, I mean, I don't know why that would be a smokescreen. Like,
when you hear that there's interest, you believe it.
Oh, of course. Why wouldn't there be? He's one of the top quarterbacks in this draft.
Well, I'll give you one reason for why you would want to participate in misinformation. You could pretend like you love him and hope that the Giants love him more.
Right.
And then you can improve your draft capital by trading down and getting more assets. And here's another reason why you might do it. You don't love him, and you don't think he's career-changing or franchise-changing. And so, but you realize that I'm holding a valuable card here. It says number 2 on it. So I'm going to pretend like I love him. So if there's a team below us that really loves him, they might pick up the phone and call us. There are a lot of reasons to disseminate false stories.
Yeah,
so that's why.
You could do that, but in my opinion, the Browns aren't in a position today to me, I'll say this: if I'm drafting, I'm not trading down, and I'm not going to do that. I'm going to stay there and I'm going to take somebody. And the reason I say I'm going to stay here and take somebody is that there's this thing that the quantity of people you get is better than the quality of individuals you get. If I'm sitting here and
you trade down, you get more.
But theoretically, you're getting less talented players. If I trade from 2 to 6,
You just said quantity over quality, though.
Yes, he botched his metaphor there. Here, Jay Crawford laid out the dream scenario
Yes.
for me. That
Yes.
Cam Ward goes 1, the Giants trade up from 3 to 2. They get
Perfect.
the Browns get what a processing fee, and I would guess I'm going to throw out what I think would be that deal, which is probably like a 3rd or 4th round pick in 2026 to make that move. Now, obviously, the base comparison
That's it.
is Mitch Trubisky getting the Bears giving up a 3rd and 4th the same year and a 3rd the next year. And maybe the Browns can do something like that. But I'm betting the Giants, if they're that sold on Shedeur and getting up to 2, I'm betting Joe Shane will give up a whole lot of picks and draft assets in 2026 because he doesn't know he's going to be there in 2026. And this is the classic situation. You want to pick on guys without job security. But to G. Bush's overall thing about the Browns can't be messing around with this stuff, I'm always fascinated by the idea that bad teams can't do smart things because they aren't good.
Right.
Like, you should aspire to do what good teams do, not be bad, not stay bad, not do things that make you stay bad.
Yeah.
If they can get the Giants to move up and give them something for somebody they make the determination they don't want, let them and get whatever else you want. You still get the player you want, hopefully Abdul Carter, and then you get whatever else you want to add on to that. If they want to take Shedeur Sanders at 2, take him. But if I have no problem with it. Now, having said all this, I don't think the Browns are doing anything other than trying to figure out how they want to evaluate these guys. They've been working at this like the past 2 weeks doing nothing but draft meetings. I don't think they're putting out false stories over this time. To the question of, do I think the Giants really want Shedeur and he wants them?
Yeah.
I don't. I think Shedeur wants to go as high as possible. Do I think Shedeur likes the possibility of playing in New York? Sure. Do I think Shedeur could handle playing in New York? Absolutely. Do I think Shedeur would like to play with Malik Neighbors? Yes, I do. But again, I think if it means going 2 rather than 3, he'd be more than happy to go in Cleveland. The big thing with the Giants is you are buying into the notion that there's a ton of pressure on them because the Giants had the opportunity last year to take either J.J. McCarthy or Bo Nix or Michael Penix, and they passed on all 3 to go and take Malik Neighbors. And Malik Neighbors seems to be a tremendous wide receiver, but they don't have a quarterback. So if between that and the whole Saquon Barkley thing, there's a sense, and this is what, year 3 or 4 for them? I think 4.
Yeah.
They haven't won anything.
Right.
They obviously had the 1 year, Brian Daboll's first year. That was the Daniel Jones playoff game. He had the Kevin Stefanski first year and then has gone downhill since. So there's a sense that they need to sort of get it going, and that, Brian Daboll being an offensive coach, it's time to go get your guy. Now, they may address it in free agency and eliminate this conversation entirely, and then it doesn't matter. But if they don't, then there's a sense that there is added pressure on them to go up and get him. Now, maybe they will hold their water on this. Last year, as covered on Hard Knocks, Joe Shane tried to trade up and he wanted to go get Drake May and was rebuffed and then ended up taking Malik Neighbors. So obviously they were trying to get a quarterback last year. So there's a feeling that they need to go get one. I don't think that, in theory, that makes a whole lot of sense. But obviously, if they don't value the player enough, it doesn't really matter. So we'll see. And who knows? Maybe they like Jackson Dart better and they like him and they were just content to take him. I don't know. But if they do like Shedeur and the Browns don't, then I'm absolutely happy to let them trade up that one spot and give the Browns a processing fee, whatever that looks like, which, again, I think would be 2026 draft assets. Maybe there's something in 2025 as well.
Yeah.
But I also think, in addition to the fact that Joe Shane is more likely to deliver assets for a year, he may not be the GM because he's going to want to use every asset he has this year to try to build up the team so they can win.
They have to win. Yeah.
I also in as much as I think the Browns would like to pick higher in this draft more often with the 12 picks they have, like obviously I think they'd rather have like another second round pick as opposed to like 35 6-round picks. I do think that there's a real possibility that the Browns are sitting here going, we've got enough 2025 picks. Let's start building our trove of 2026 picks, especially if they don't like this quarterback class enough, or they don't feel like they're going to get the guy they really want, and they want to start giving themselves more ammunition to potentially go and get that guy next year.
Yeah, and I would think too that, at least, in doing the mocks and stuff, you look at like 216, 217, 2 whatever it is at the end of the draft. You'd like to think you could use some of those 6s and 7s to get up at some other picks to get targeted players, right? Like if you have a guy that you love, at any position, wide receiver, and you're at pick 109 and it's pick 101, you can get up 7 picks with a 7th round pick and make sure you get that player. I mean, coming away with 7, 8 guys that you really like from this draft, I think is fine. I don't think you need to come away with 11 players here.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, certainly there's the possibility they could trade picks for veterans. Obviously, we've seen them do it with wide receivers. There could be another opportunity. They did with Zadarius Smith. Maybe there's a younger player that they want to bring in that sort of makes sense for what the direction they're heading. But yeah, there's absolutely the possibility that they could have very specific targets they want to go get and use some of those late round picks to go get their guy. And more power to them in that scenario.
Yep. What else here? Don't break Brad's heart and say take Shedeur. Yeah, I mean, if they take Shedeur, then I'm gonna trust that they love him and I'm gonna root for him to do well. But we can only go with what we see. I don't know. I would think it's a long shot that they do that, but they are up against the wall. Pete, would it floor you if they took Shedeur too?
Yes,
it would.
Again, for me, I think people look at Kevin Stefanski and they think that he wants the Kirk Cousins-iest quarterback possible. Yeah. And I don't think that's ever been what he really wants. Right. I think Deshaun Watson is a good indication of that. But even when he's, whether it's been Joe Flacco or Jameis Winston or some of these other guys, even picking Baker Mayfield. I mean, he picked Baker Mayfield by virtue of going for the Browns job twice. He wants somebody with a little bit more juice in terms of overall ability, game-breaking ability. And I think I think he has the track record to back it up. I think he is of the belief that if he can get somebody who's coachable enough that will, take coaching and apply it, that he can emphasize the strengths and minimize the weaknesses. And ultimately he can do that better with, like, we'll just use Cam Ward and Shedeur as examples of this. He get more out of a Cam Ward because of the extra physical talent he brings to the table than he can into Shedeur Sanders. Now, I could be wrong. It's happened at least once. But ultimately, I just think his track record backs that up, where he's hardly alone. There are plenty of coaches who think this way and want this. They are coaches. They think they can get a guy with big-time tools to make it work. Now, getting the coachability and all that stuff is super important. And that comes through in the interview and background and all that other stuff. But, I just have a difficult time believing he's going to be like, I can get to the Super Bowl with Shedeur Sanders.
With him. Yeah, I do too.
Again, at 2. Now, again, it's a different conversation if Shedeur is at 33.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think that's going to happen, but just for the sake of argument.
Last thing. Garage Beers is next. Stick around, hang out with Mike and the guys. Get your beers. Head to your garage for Garage Beers. Keep it locked here on the OBR network. Last thing tonight, with the final minutes we have, this is a super loaded running back class. We talked a little bit about it last week. If you had your choice, anybody but Genty, how do you say his name? Genty?
Yeah, Genty.
Anybody but him. Because he's going to be gone, and you could come up at 33 or at 67 or whatever it is, and get the running back of your choice. Who would be your favorite guy for the Browns?
Caleb Johnson from Iowa is my number 2 running back in the class. He's phenomenal. He plays in the zone system for Iowa. His metrics are a little bit better than Amari and Hampton. I know that's the guy people absolutely love. Very talented player. Don't get me wrong. His burst is incredible. But Caleb Johnson, his vision, the way he presses the line of scrimmage, the way he just attacks, he just gets it in a way that I think is special. Now, am I taking him at 33? No. But if the Browns did, I'd be like, yeah, I get it. If there's a world where he gets to 67, or the Browns trade up to the end of the second round to go get him, I'd also get it. Now, if you're asking me what is my preferred strategy, it's not doing that. I am a huge believer in, and again, going with what the Browns have basically said, and using the Philadelphia Eagles as a model, build the offensive line and running backs will make it work. I'd rather get 2 guys on day 3. I've heard different.
Even in this class?
Yes. I love this running back class for that reason.
I do too, but
there are legit dudes on day 3.
But don't you think that Trevion Henderson, Hampton, Neal, and Caleb Johnson are special enough guys to go? We talked about, during the season that the running back became more important this year because of the cover 2 stuff.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and I feel like the Browns need to have a weapon there. So, yeah, I love taking a day 3 guy. I think they need to take 2 backs, but I want one of them to be a guy that is going to be a threat, a weapon anytime he touches the ball. And there are a couple guys in this running back class that immediately do that, I think.
I think there are 3.
Yeah.
And none of them played at Ohio State.
Henderson is absolutely one of them.
He's not for me.
He is for me. Sign me up.
I am not in on the manufacturer's suggested retail price on most anyone from Ohio State in this class. Everybody wants.
And I'm not an Ohio State fan, so it's not a bias here.
No, I understand.
Me just
That's
watching.
Fine. I'm just saying,
I'm not an Ohio State honk. I just know he's going to test out of this world, and watching him, dude, he looks like a freak, dude. He is freakish.
He's special. The problem is he spent a lot of time at Ohio State hurt. And he's been hurt in ways that are very concerning. And I'm very curious to see what the medical turns up with him.
Well, yeah. So if it's medical concerns, then I get it. But you saying that he's not as,
he's
as
also
talented as the other guys.
Just on the stuff I look at, he's not in the same realm as
Hampton.
He's not in that. He's not in the Hampton, Johnson, or Genty world for me. There are people who are evaluators who think he's the second best running back in the class, which is fine. I'm not. They're perfectly allowed to have that opinion, and maybe he will be. And I think Judkins is very talented as well. But the MSRP on those guys, and basically Ohio State in general, the sneaky value players for Ohio State for me, I think are like Denzel Burke.
I agree.
Those type of guys.
Yeah, I like Burke.
But in general, if you're asking me, would I rather take a premium running back or a premium offensive lineman? I'm taking the offensive lineman. That is my priority. I want to get just to throw out an example. If you're saying would I rather have, and we'll see what happens in testing and all this stuff, but right this second, if you're asking me, would I rather have a running back at 33 Or would I
Or
rather have
Zabel.
Jonah Savainia from Arizona, the offensive guard, who's
330
pounds and just is a house with like 20% body fat? I want that guy.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. I'm with you.
So
I'm just saying I don't want to wait all the way till day 3 to get 2 guys. I'm with you on prioritizing a tackle and an inside. Like Zabel's there at 33, Connerly's there, the guy you just said. I love all those picks, right?
Sure.
For the offensive line.
Yeah, so like a lot of this is to me, I'd play the board because I love the class.
Of course.
And a lot of it depends on what you want. What are you asking for? Like, if you want a bruiser versus you want a guy who does a little bit of everything, you want a guy who catches passes out of the backfield. Like I love Brashard Smith out of SMU, and annoyingly, everybody's caught on to him.
Yeah.
Because
Dude, there's
I was
25 running backs in this class that could be something.
Yeah, I think Mel Kiper's number's 33. I've heard 35 draftable running backs. I think you're going to get guys who aren't drafted who start in this league. I think you're going to get guys on day 3 who are special in this league.
Yeah,
so Brashard Smith is a guy who jumps out at me. LaQuint Allen is a guy people are catching on to. I think is legitimately a genius at football. But I don't know if he's that great of an athlete. That's
why I'm saying that I want a special guy and a guy that you can take. You can even take him UDFA. I don't care, but your second guy. But I want somebody that's special in this room because you look at what Jahmyr Gibbs has done. He makes playing quarterback easier. Bijan Robinson makes playing quarterback easier. No matter who is on your offensive line, just because of their, you know what I mean? So, yes, I agree with you. I think they need to attend to the offensive line, but I think they also need to get a weapon in the backfield.
I agree to a point. It's very easy to point to Jahmyr Gibbs, and Jahmyr Gibbs is phenomenal. He also plays for behind one of the best offensive lines in football.
Yeah, fair.
Saquon Barkley plays behind the best offensive line in football. Like, it's difficult for me to unmarry these things. Like,
Barkley's different than what I'm talking
Christian
about.
McCaffrey is a guy who's legitimately making garbage look good, other than Trent Williams, who's a Hall of Famer. What the Dolphins have been able to do at times is making garbage look good.
Yeah.
I don't want to be in that world.
No.
And I'm not suggesting you do either, but like that's a really difficult thing for me. Big ask, I think. And obviously we were spoiled with Nick Chubb, and God willing, Nick Chubb's going to come back and be something that resembles Nick Chubb. But again, my priority is the offensive line. Now, where I think, you get into this weird sort of world is of like the choice is like, if you're signed up for like what I'm suggesting, you're like, yeah, offensive line, let's get these guys and let's get some guys that can block and make one of these guys really good. But then they get up to the clock and we're sitting there going, okay, take that offensive lineman. And then they take another, defensive tackle. Then you're probably going to get a little frustrated. Yeah. I think it's probably more palatable for you or most people, as long as it's something on offense that's going to make them better. As opposed if it's not that premium running back.
Yeah, I mean, it all depends on, like you said, it all depends on how the board falls, and you got to play the board. So you're right, and I agree. But if you could come away with the special back, I think it could help you a ton this year. And Larry, I am 100% not writing off Nick Chubb, and neither I think Pete is. But I do think that you absolutely have to. You cannot count on him to be your guy. You have to have somebody else there. So if he is good, it's a bonus and it makes you even better. And I think that's how you have to treat it. And he's more valuable to the Browns than any other team because of what he brings to the locker room and the identity that he brings as soon as he walks in the door. So yeah, you got to keep him here, and I hope he returns healthy.
Jerome James from Oregon, another again, these are guys. We'll see. And it'll be interesting. Maybe these guys will fly off the board way earlier than I think they will. But I think just the glut of running back talent, after you get those first couple guys, I'm willing to be a little bit more patient and play the board. And maybe the board plays out in a way where it's like, I feel like I've got to pull the trigger a little bit earlier than maybe I would have. But it also wouldn't surprise me if like that first pick of the 4th round is like a really good spot to get a running back or something like that. Like,
Yeah, you might be right. 4th round
so,
might be good.
you know, it ultimately depends, because I think it's very easy to sort of get in the mindset of, oh man, I really want this guy in round 6. When you get to day 3, just get your guys. Like,
Yeah.
maybe you can play around in the 4th round, but after that, you are just getting your guys, and you can't worry about, you know, round value. You just get the guys on your board and get them wherever you can get them. Now, you know, if the Browns do keep all those 6th round picks, they are in a position to be a huge net for guys who potentially fall and get some great value, but we'll see how it plays out. But either way, right this second, as we sit here today, I'm very comfortable waiting until day 3 to get running back. Maybe that will change. Certainly the combine's going to be interesting. It's going to be a freak show for running back day, as well as defensive line.
I suppose you're right. I guess I'm not at the, if you took a guy, there's probably going to be some special backs at the beginning of day 3. So we'll see. We'll see how the board
talk
falls.
about 30 some, you know, that's enough for every team to take at least one. And there's going to be at least
flavor.
Don't take any.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we got to get out of here. Garage Beers is up next. Any parting words tonight, Pete?
Subscribe to the OBR. Subscribe to the podcast. Obviously, you can watch us live, but you know, if you want to catch all the OBR shows, easiest way to do that is subscribe to the podcast. But yeah, subscribe to the OBR. Plenty of content still coming. I'll have another article on quarterback stuff on Thursday that will piss people off, I'm sure. And the mock drafts keep rolling, but yeah, plenty of content rolling out.
Thank you guys for watching. Thanks, Pat Shea, Manimal, Rose, Amber, Rocky, everybody that participated tonight. Larry, if I forgot you, DeAndre. You guys were all great, Chef. And we appreciate you guys contributing to the show. Fumble, Zook, all you guys are fantastic. And tell a friend, keep them coming out. Go enjoy Garage Beers. Keep it locked at theobr.com for all analysis. Moving forward, for Pete Smith, my name is Brad Ward. We are out.